Probably the single most daunting aspect of becoming a digital nomad is the cost to uproot your entire life to travel full-time. Depending on your situation, here are some examples of upfront costs. Break your lease, store your stuff, store your car, move, buy individual health insurance, buy new technology, invest in a travel credit card, and build up a business and brand. Obviously, if you own a house, or you're not quitting your job to travel, some of these costs are going to look a little different. But I'm going to use my situation as my example. You're also going to have ongoing expenses when you travel, such as your cell phone, and you'll want to consider whether you want to maintain your domestic cell phone and have an international phone, or whether you can do both at once. Travel health insurance, the insurance for storing all of your stuff in your car, web hosting and file storage if you're planning to start your own business, housing, food, travel such as airfare, train, rental cars, etc., and of course entertainment. In this video, I'm going to share my own costs with you, talk about how I was able to save money in some cases, what I sold of my own stuff and how, my estimated monthly costs for traveling, and finally, I'll show you a handy spreadsheet for keeping track of your actual income and expenses as you travel. I've linked to the spreadsheet below in the description, so please feel free to make a copy for your own personal use and replace my numbers with your own. Now let's dive into the spreadsheet. On the first tab, we have here our upfront costs. I went ahead and divided it into all the costs I would have for moving my apartment into storage, which was going to always be one of my largest expenses, and then all of my other expenses below. I noted some examples where I was able to save money. So for example, for boxes, I gathered boxes from my work and from my apartment recycle rooms. Pretty much all my boxes were free. I didn't have to buy any myself. So if you end up having to buy some, you'll want to put a dollar value in there. I ended up only having to buy 2 rolls of packing tape. However, I packed up an entire apartment. But some folks gave me some leftovers from their packing, so I was able to save money there as well. You'll want to buy mattress bags if you're storing a mattress so that it doesn't get dirty and dingy while you're gone. Note that it cost me $19 for what was supposed to be a 2-pack on Amazon, and it only came with 1 bag. So when you order mattress bags online, be sure you check them when they arrive before you actually have to move. My moving labor was for 4 hours. I hired a company called Clean Cut Movers out of Virginia. They did a fantastic job, so I gave them a really good tip. But I just had to hire them for the labor. I didn't require the truck and all the additional things that movers come with, which is why I was able to save money. Most of the estimates were in the $700 and $600 something range. The place where I was storing my stuff gave a truck for a certain amount of time free and a certain amount of mileage free. So I just had to pay for some of the gas and some of the additional mileage because I was a little far away. And those were my total costs for the actual move. Then we had the storage unit. So I did have to get a storage unit that was climate controlled because it was in Virginia where it is humid during the year, during the summer especially. So I had to pay a little bit more expensive because I had to put it in climate control. I went ahead and paid the entire 12 months up front because almost every chain storage unit mentions that they may increase your price at any point during the year. So I went ahead and paid for the entire 12 months up front. Costs extra, of course, out of pocket. However, it's going to save me money throughout the year. I also had to buy my own lock for the door. I bought it on Amazon because if you buy it at the storage facility, it is probably another $5 to $10. Driving to Florida, this is just an estimate. I had to gas up 3 times. I have a pretty fuel-efficient car, but it was about $80 in gas. I also estimated my health insurance, so I did an entire video on this, but I bought health insurance for only 1 month. I also put in here the new tech I had to buy. So I've been using my company's laptop. Probably for the last 8 years, I've used whatever laptop the company gave me. And so I finally had to go out and buy my own. The one I had at home was some old Asus. So I bought my own Mac. And I also needed to purchase a new cell phone because my cell phone was starting to fall apart and I really wanted an iPhone to sync with my Mac. Next on here, we have the Chase Sapphire Reserve card. So pretty much anyone you talk to will tell you this is the best travel card to have. You get a lot of extra bonus points. It's $450 up front, but they give you $300 of that back in reimbursements on when you spend money on the card. And anytime you spend money on travel, such as for plane tickets, trains, all that kind of stuff, hotels, you get extra bonus points and all of that sort of fun stuff. So this will actually, I think, be a really good investment going forward, and I'll be able to save some money. I haven't bought it yet, which is why it's highlighted in yellow. I'm going to buy it right before I leave because you need to spend $4,000 in the first 3 months, which won't be a problem while I'm traveling. But since I'm saving money right now, could be a problem now. And if you spend that first $4,000, you get extra points on the card. I went ahead and bought a domain name on GoDaddy for the next 2 years, and I also bought the web hosting, their middle of the road, I think, grow big plan on SiteGround for the next 3 years. I did the GoDaddy first, which is why it's only 2 years. I think that's what they offered. But the SiteGround, it's a special sign-up fee, so it was 60% off, and I didn't want to lose that. So kind of just like the storage unit, I wanted to lock in the price, so I went ahead and got it for 3 years. I figure I'll have a website for at least that long. I also invested in my company, so I wanted to put that in here as an expense I had to buy. So again, your line items are all going to vary based on what you have to do when you leave. I spent $3,000 on company stock because I had joined a small startup company, and I'm hoping that they will still succeed and sell, and I will be able to benefit from that. So I added that into my upfront costs. And then finally, I registered my car and got a Florida driver's license because I moved down in with my parents for the last 3 to 4 months before going on my trip in order to save money and make plans. So the move, the gas that I mentioned driving to Florida and the registration and Florida driver's license was so that I could keep my car stored at my parents' and keep some of the stuff that I didn't put in storage down here. Okay, so those are the upfront costs. You'll want to take the spreadsheet, add in your own. Hopefully this gave you some things to consider that you hadn't thought of before. Next, we have items sold. So I went ahead and made a spreadsheet of everything that I sold. I used Facebook Marketplace. I thought it was fantastic. Now I was living near Washington, D.C., so that's a pretty big city. So there's plenty of people on Facebook. And I had no problem selling things. People come right online and just ping you on Facebook Messenger so you can see a picture of them and you can have a little conversation with them. It's not like email going back and forth and waiting for responses or, getting phone calls that may be sketchy. So it made it really easy to do. And these are the items that I sold. I won't go through them all. I've talked about it before, but I made about $735 selling things, which was great. When I subtracted that, which I'll do in another tab here, my costs were a little bit less because I was able to recoup some money. Also, it saved me storage space because the IKEA shelves, for example, and the desk that I sold both took up a lot of space, and we filled my storage unit to the max. So had I not sold these things, the stuff probably would not have fit in my storage unit. So it was good all around. Next tab is ongoing expenses. So of course, this is going to vary from person to person, but these are just my initial estimates. The travel insurance is highlighted in yellow because again, I'm still working on figuring that out. I actually think it's going to be a little lower. I think it may be closer to $110, which is great because that lowers my monthly costs and everything. I'm going to maintain my cell phone in the United States. It's only $8 a month because I got this special deal with Virgin Mobile for a year, and I want to maintain the cell phone number that I have. So that I'm going to continue paying. The car and storage insurance, I mentioned auto because they come out of my accounts automatically, which is really easy for me. Car and storage insurance is, I'm guessing, going to be about $30 a month because I'm going to put my car into kind of that no driving mode, but I don't want to not have car insurance because if you go without car insurance if you have a gap, it can end up making your insurance a lot more expensive when you come back. So I think I'm going to maintain it. It's all through USAA, so we'll see how that works out. Then the things that I highlighted here in kind of blue are the actual travel related expenses. So I'm guessing about $800 a month. My first hostel in Barcelona is a little over $600. So I'm assuming some are going to be around $1,000 and hopefully some will be less, closer to $500 or $600 a month. So average about $800. Food, total guess here, I'm hoping to cook at home a lot while I'm traveling. So that's why I've estimated it probably a little bit low. I also don't drink very much. Alcohol is a big expense. Won't be having too much of that. Travel is actual airplanes, trains, and automobiles. For the most part during the month, I won't be traveling too much. I'll probably want to take a train occasionally and some minimal flying between destinations, I imagine. So I think it'll average out to about $200 a month. Entertainment, this will probably fluctuate quite a bit. I like to go out and hike and walk around and things. I'm sure I'm going to be doing stuff that costs a lot more than $100 a month, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens here. And then international cell phones. So I will be buying SIM cards, I imagine, in each country or region that I'm in. So I've provided a little bit of an estimate for that. So that comes out to about $1,700 a month, or about a little over $20,000 for the year. Now, I'm traveling around Europe, which is why these are so expensive. So, of course, if you're going to Southeast Asia, your dollar values are going to be significantly lower. Next, let's take a look at the actual monthly expenses. So I just put a placeholder in here. So I took all of the values from the ongoing expenses and I laid them out across the months. You could change these to be January, February, starting whatever month you're starting in. And then you can come in here and actually replace any of these dollar values that are different with the actuals. So you can see I hadn't adjusted. The travel insurance would actually be $110 instead of $150, but we'll just go with it. So $1,728. So when you come in here and switch up your actuals, it will filter into the totals. Okay, on our totals tab, you can see the top half here is pulling from these two rows are pulling from the upfront cost total and the items sold total. So it will calculate automatically when you change those tabs. And then you can here put in your starting amount. I just picked a random dollar value so we could see how it calculates. So we're starting with $30,000, we're saying. Then we had our upfront costs, which brought us down to $22,500. And then we sold some things, so we're now at $23,300. Then we can take our monthly expenses and income. So the expenses, again, are just pulling from the actual monthly expenses tab. So if we change dollar values here in month one, let's say our housing was only $600 for month one, we come back to our totals, we'll see it calculates for us. And then we'll see how much money we have remaining for our additional months. Now, if you're able to make an income, like in my case, I'm doing some consulting right now, so I'm bringing in some money occasionally. I can say, I made $500 this month. And then next month, I made them all equal month one just to start as an example. So you could see how it would calculate and add in. But maybe the following month, I only made $100. If you're freelancing especially, maybe you get really lucky and do really well in month 3. And you can go through and make those changes. So this will go ahead and calculate how much money you're going to be having remaining if you have some good estimates put into your sheet. You can go ahead and continue this out and add more actual monthly expenses columns in the tab before and go ahead and add additional months here. And that way you can see how long you're going to be able to travel for. Again, please feel free to use this spreadsheet. You can come up to the top here and you can go ahead and make a copy and save it to your own Google Drive. Feel free to use it for personal use. You're also welcome to link to it if you want to put it in your blog or use it somewhere else. Please link back to this video and give credit. I'd really appreciate it. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment. I know that one of the most challenging things about taking this giant leap of faith, quitting your job, traveling full-time, becoming a digital nomad, whatever your goals are, is really stressful, especially when it comes to money. So this should hopefully help you wrap your head around how much things are going to cost and make you feel more confident about making that leap. So thank you for joining Gallivanting Gal Travel here. Please go ahead and like the video, make comments, subscribe. I will always appreciate your feedback, and I'm happy to do additional videos if you have suggestions for what you'd like to see. And as always, stay tuned for more.